Lads, lasses and the rest of the masses, welcome back to the channel. I'm Mono from Mono CFC and these are my Premier League predictions for the 2023-24 season. The Premier League starts on Friday with Burnley versus Man City, and what better way to start the season off than to try and predict where every single Premier League team will finish. I want to firstly preface this by saying these are just my personal opinions. I am predominantly a Chelsea focused channel and I don't know every single little nuance for every single team, so if you disagree with anything I say in this video or feel like I overlooked something for your team, respectfully leave your own opinions in the comments down below and I'll get around to responding to them. I will say now this will be an off the cuff video. I do have some notes written down, but for the most part this will be a longer impromptu video. Right, with all that out of the way, let's get right into this. I'm going to start from the bottom and then work my way up until we crown our Premier League champions. First thing I will say is that this is a very hard table to predict this year. I think multiple teams have strengthened incredibly, and all of the top 10 are really strong in my opinion. And even going down to about 13th, 14th, I think the teams are actually very competitive. So, starting with the relegation zone, the team I think will come rock bottom is Sheffield United. I don't think Sheffield's team is particularly good. I think they are pretty much a championship level team. They've lost Sander Berg to Burnley. They've lost Ndiaye, who was a huge source of goals / assists for them. They've got a very small squad, not very good depth. I don't think they'll do very well. They could come in any one of the bottom 3 spots, but I genuinely think that just every other team in the league is better than their team, including the team which I'm going to be putting above them, which might sound ludicrous, is Luton Town. I was going to actually predict Luton Town to stay up as a bit of a rogue shout, but I can't expect them to do well at all. The squad is, again, championship level, and there's no place for the goals to come from, really. I think they'll edge Sheffield just due to some decent signings they've made. They've brought in Marvellous Nakamba, and they've brought in Chong too, and I think they've overall got a bit better depth. They've got way more players in the squad, and in a very long season like this, that could be the difference between them. There'll probably only be 1 or 2 points in it, to be honest, and again, this bottom 3 can be any way around. Quick editor's note here, Luton have just confirmed the signing of Ross Barkley, which is another decent signing, and I think that'll also help them stay above Sheffield here. Next, in 18th place, I'm going to be putting Wolverhampton Wanderers. This might sound like a surprise to see Wolves go down, but they have struggled to score goals. They have not really strengthened at all. They've bought in Cunha permanently, but he was on loan there last season, so that doesn't really change the team. They've lost Ruben Neves, which is a huge loss for them, and his replacement is unproven. I think they've brought in Traore. They've also lost Collins, and they haven't replaced him either. I can only see them going down and down and down, and with them not being able to score, your goals win games. That's what you need to do to stay up, and I just don't think they're going to be able to do it in comparison to the other teams that I've put above them. Next up, surviving the drop, is going to be Everton. They haven't strengthened at all apart from Dan Juma and Young, which aren't the greatest additions, and they scraped past relegation last season. Admittedly, they were kind of impacted by having Frank Lampard as their manager, who is just awful as a manager, and Dyche will be better, but I don't think he'll be that much better. Dyche is a relatively negative manager, and he'll basically aim for 40 points, and I think that will be a struggle for them with the quality that they have in the squad is just not good enough. But he will likely keep them up, that's what he's there for. I think other teams just above them just have a tiny bit more quality in the squads overall. Speaking of which, the one that I'm going to put above them now is Brentford. Obviously, a big elephant in the room for Brentford is that they've lost Ivan Toney. That is 41% of their goals gone. Toney was directly involved in 41% of their goals last season, so I think they are going to drop down the table massively. They've also just lost Raya too, who was a massive reason why they were doing so well. His save percentage is one of the best in the leagues. The one thing they have they've brought in Collins, as I said, from Wolves. And he's a decent addition to replace Janssen, who's just gone out. Their forward play in general is quite good with Mbomo, etc. So I think they'll have enough in them to stay up. I don't think they'll get relegated, but I do not think they're going to be as good as they were, and they're going to drop a lot of places. Above them, I'm going to be putting Nottingham Forest. Now, Forest have made some decent signings. They've brought in Ola Aina, who's obviously an ex-Chelsea boy, I know a lot about him. I think he's quite good. They've brought in Wood, who's a relatively okay striker, and the one which I think is actually more impressive is Alanga coming in. I think Alanga is very, very underrated. They haven't really lost anyone too important on their outgoings either, and obviously they've got very good quality players, the main one being Morgan Gibbs-White, who is a baller. They definitely have enough quality to stay up, and I think they just have better quality than the two teams below them. Next up, going into 14th place, I'm going to be putting Bournemouth. They've done some decent transfer business, bringing in Justin Kluivert, Traore from Sassuolo, and Radu on loan. Losing Lerma to Palace is a big blow, but the new manager will transfer Bournemouth into pressing machines that will likely be too much for a lot of the lesser teams to handle, and I think that's where they'll gain most of their points. Above them, just edging into 13th place, I'm actually going to take the team that has taken Lerma off them, and that's Crystal Palace. I think bringing in Lerma has made that core very, very strong for them now, but losing Zaha, and he's now gone to Galatasaray obviously, and replacing him with a relatively inexperienced player in Franca is a dangerous game to play. Also, they look likely to lose Elise, which would be disastrous as he provided them with so many assists last year. Roy Hodgson's magic won't last forever as usual, but the overall quality of the squad is good enough to guarantee survival in my opinion. Okay, moving into 12th place, and this might be a bit of a shock for you, but I'm going to be putting in West Ham. I think it's an absolutely massive blow that they've lost Rice. The potential replacement, Edson Alvarez, is a decent enough substitute for him and lessens that blow a little, but they have hemorrhaged players and have the smallest squad in the league as of recording. They need signings to push for the top half, and I think they'll struggle with another season in European football too. Obviously, winning the Conference League last year has guaranteed them into the Europa League, and I think that's going to really drag them down, as obviously as well as losing Rice, who's one of their most important players. So I think they are going to go into about 12th. Okay, another editor's note, West Ham have now confirmed that they're going to be signing Harry Maguire and more importantly James Ward-Prowse, which could push them up the table a few places, but there's also rumours of Paqueta leaving, so I'm going to keep them where they are. I don't think that'll change their position very much. Above them, I'm going to be putting Fulham into 11th. They haven't technically lost Mitrovic, but I think he is on the way out, and with his actions recently, I don't think he'll play for the club again. Losing him is a big blow. He got 15 goals/assists for them last season. It's a big part to how they play as a team in general. They've replaced him with Jimenez, but he's not like for like and isn't as good as Mitrovic in my opinion, and Carlos Vinicius ain't great either. I think they will struggle to score goals, but will be better defensively this year because Bassi has come in, who looked absolutely fantastic in pre-season when he played against us. I think they'll likely end up on similar points to last year, but the other teams around them have progressed, so I think they'll finish lower. Before we move on, I'd like to quickly address the question of the day, and it's going to be, which team this season do you think is going to overperform the most? For me, my overperformer is going to be the team that I put in right now, and that is Burnley. I think Burnley, if I can get them into the right spot, there we go. I think Burnley are going to be the shock promoted team. There always is a team that gets promoted and then does really, really well, and I think Burnley is going to be the one that does that. I think they are going to finish in the top half. They'll be on 10th. Vincent Kompany is a super good coach with flexible tactics, and I think Burnley's form from the Championship will carry on in a big way. The team hasn't changed much in terms of outgoings except for Martson returning to Chelsea and Barnes has left for Norwich. They've made a decent chunk of reinforcements, so I assume that they'll just carry on as they were, and I think they're going to be too good for the majority of the teams below them. Next up, into 9th place, this might be controversial. I'm going to be putting Brighton and Hove Albion. I think they will have another good season. Their squad is strong and their coach is brilliant. The only reason I put them finishing lower than before is due to them losing McAllister and soon to be losing Caicedo. Plus the addition of extra games in the Europa League this year will have an impact on the squad. They've made some decent acquisitions in the door with Dahoud from Dortmund and João Pedro looking great in pre-season, which will be good enough for them to steady themselves. They don't absolutely plummet down the table, but they have lost some big ballers in their team, and I don't think they're going to do as well as they did last year. Likewise, this next one is also going to be very controversial. I'm going to be putting in Newcastle United. They have a very strong side, and definitely could be higher in this list, admittedly. Tonali is an excellent addition to their already incredible midfield, but losing St. Maximan is really bad for them, and Harvey Barnes isn't the greatest replacement. The main reason why I think they're going to struggle this season is because their team is really good, and I think they're going to go quite deep into the Champions League, and I think that will drain them towards the end of the season, the tail end of the season. I think they're going to start dropping points, and the main thing is that Newcastle are a huge team, and I know that if they get to the round of 16, the quarters, the semis of the Champions League, their focus is going to completely go away from the league, and it's going to be all into the winning the Champions League. They're a huge club, and you know that the fans especially would absolutely love to see Newcastle lift the Champions League trophy. In fact, I'm a neutral here because I'm a Chelsea fan. I don't really have any connection to them, but I would love to see Newcastle lift a Champions League trophy if an English team had to win it that wasn't Chelsea. I think that would be quite a good feel-good story. But I just feel like they're going to struggle with that extra schedule because the games that they're going to be playing are going to be super competitive. And I feel like the teams that are above them are just going to have a better season in terms of being able to manage the games that they play. One of which is the team that I'm going to be putting above them, who once again get into the Europa Conference League, and that's Aston Villa. I think they have made some really good bits of business this summer. Pau Torres, Tielemans and Moussa Diaby all improved them significantly, and they've been flying in pre-season. Now the difference between them and Newcastle, and the reason why I've put them above them, is that I don't think their extra games in the Conference League will affect them as much, because they can afford to rotate in weaker sides for that competition because it's not the hardest competition in the world. And Unai Emery has won the Europa League multiple times, and I think in comparison the Europa Conference League will just be a complete cakewalk for them. So I don't think he's going to put that much effort into actually trying to progress that far, and I think they will probably try and push in the league for Europa and then go on to win. He'll probably go on to win the Europa League because he's the specialist at doing that. Real quick, if you're enjoying the content and want to see more, please consider subscribing to the channel. We are less than 500 subscribers away from 15,000, so if you want to support me and the creation of videos like this, hit that red button and join the masses. Also, quick reminder, I have started an FPL mini league for this community. If you'd like to join, just use this code on the app or click the link that's in the description and it will automatically join you into the league. I will be closing this before the league starts, so this is your last chance to do so. There will be a small prize for the winner at the end of the season, so if you want to be in with a chance to win that, get involved. Above Villa, I'm going to be putting Liverpool into the first Europa League spot. They have made some fantastic signings in Szoboszlai and McAllister, but two key losses in the midfield with Fabinho and Captain Henderson leaving, and no immediate replacements as of recording. Obviously they're targeting Lavia, but he's not even a 6, he's not a like-for-like replacement for Fabinho, and that midfield will be extremely suspect defensively, and might signal a return to the Liverpool of a few years ago, who are a neutral stream to watch in truth. They score for fun, they've been scoring for fun in pre-season, we've seen that, but they also concede a lot of goals. I don't think their defence is as good as it once was. I think Van Dijk is not the player he used to be. They haven't brought in a left-footed centre-back, so Robertson will have to be doing shifts there. And as I said, that midfield, at the moment it's looking like the two in the pivot are going to be Trent Alexander-Arnold and Curtis Jones, which does not inspire very much confidence. But the reason why I've put them as high as they are is because they are just going to steamroll the small teams. All of the teams like your Sheffields, your Lutons are going to hold 6, 7, maybe even 8 goals to Liverpool because their attack is insane. I just don't think they're going to be able to compete against the likes of United and City and Arsenal, because those big teams are just going to batter them because they're going to concede loads of goals. Not only that, but they've also got Europa League games to contend with, which I think, again, that will drain them, and I think that will prevent them from getting higher as the squad is super thin as of recording. They're tied with West Ham for the smallest in the league, so that lack of depth I think is going to impact them in terms of playing multiple competitions, and I think 6th is relatively good for them in terms of where they're kind of aiming to be. Obviously it's a massive fallout from where they used to be, but obviously they came 5th last season. I don't think dropping to 6th is that bad. Okay, editor's note on Liverpool. It has now been confirmed that Chelsea have bid 48 million for Lavia, and it seems like he's going to be going to Chelsea instead of Liverpool, which could push Liverpool even further down, and honestly I think maybe Newcastle / Aston Villa could take their place here. This is another controversial one that I'm putting here. And the team that I'm putting into 5th place to get the final Europa League spot is Spurs. And it pains me to say this because I bloody hate Spurs, but I'm just super convinced about this Kane-Maddison combo. I think it's going to be a nightmare for so many defences all season, especially from dead ball scenarios. If Kane leaves, because there is rumours that he's leaving to Bayern, I could see them plummet like 4, maybe 5 places down and even finish mid-table, because that's how important I think he is to them. But if he does stay, which is he's probably going to, because it's a bit too, I feel like it's a bit too late to spring that move now, and Kane has basically kind of said that he doesn't want to leave midway through the season. Like, once the season starts, he's staying. So if we get to that first game on Saturday and he's still playing there, I think that those two are going to have fun in the league. They also don't have Europe because they didn't finish in a European place last season, so they will be fresh every single week, and the new coach will get the best out of his attackers. We know he can do that. They do have one glaring issue, which is they still need a centre-back. One of their centre-backs is just not good, and I think that's part of the reason why I've put them kind of limited to 5th. I don't think they'll push for the Champions League spots, is because, like Liverpool, I don't think their defence is going to be as good, but I genuinely reckon this could possibly be another season where Harry Kane gets the golden boot if he and Maddison get to grips and really start going for each other. I think that's going to be a rekindling of the almost like the Dele Alli Harry Kane kind of combo that those two were playing really well. I think that James Maddison and Kane will probably replicate that. The team that I'm going to be putting in 4th place is my beloved Chelsea. And it pains me to say this because maybe I'm being a bit generous to us, and I could see us go into the Europa League spots, and I think most people would predict us to go into the Premier League spots. And call me biased, call me whatever you want, either likely, but I have so much faith in this Chelsea team after watching them in pre-season. If we do secure Caicedo's signature, which is looking likely with him refusing to play for Brighton and moving his stuff out of the changing rooms and stuff, then I think we can comfortably compete for top 4 because he's such a big signing for us. We have no European football because we finished in 12th last year, so the squad will be fit every single week and will lessen the amount of injuries we usually get. We have struggled in the last 2-3 seasons with just injuries after injuries, and I think that's the reason why we've been underperforming so well. Or so much rather, other than obviously last season was a complete anomaly, and I disregard that because we had awful managers, awful squad management from the higher ups as well, and now we don't have that, and obviously Pochettino's come in and he's completely transformed this team. The one reason that I don't put us higher than 4th, and I think 4th is genuinely the maximum we could get, and that's why I've put us here, because I like to back my own team. 4th is the maximum I think we can get in terms of our potential, and part of the reason for that is the fact that our main signing, who I was excited about and thought would drag us up the team, has just been injured for multiple months, and that's Christopher Nkunku. He's got a bad knee injury, he's had surgery, and he's going to be recuperating for multiple months. We may also still be playing Kepa at the start of the season, but there is now today, literally as I was recording this, there has been talks of Bayern Munich buying him, possibly getting him on loan, so maybe that will improve our defence a little bit, not having Kepa in goal, because he hemorrhages goals for us every single season. But yeah, we've been electric in pre-season, going completely undefeated, winning the summer series and looking hungry. Poch has got this young team super motivated, and we kind of seem like that Spurs team that he put together that went on to the Champions League final that year. Unfortunately, the teams ahead of us just have more overall quality in the squad, in my opinion, and will pretty comfortably go ahead of us. So it's going to be the same top 3 from last year, but in what order? Well, in 3rd place, I have Manchester United. Now, I think they're going to finish in the same place they finished last year. I think United will have another strong season under Erik ten Hag and will probably win some silverware once again this season. Carabao Cup, FA Cup, one of those they'll probably pick up, in all honesty. Overall, I think their squad is just simply better than all the teams that I've put before them. Every single team here, United's squad is just better. They have done some transfer business, obviously shipping off De Gea and replacing him with Andre Onana, who is a massive upgrade for them. In goal, I think that's one of the core positions they needed to improve in, and they have done that, so hats off to them. Again, there is the United are another one of those teams where they could definitely get second. I don't think they can win. I do not think they can win the league this year, just because their striker, Rasmus Højlund, though they've brought in, is unproven, and especially in such a tough league, I don't think he's going to immediately pick up and start bagging 30 goals, which is what you need. He's not going to instantly turn into a 30 goals a season striker. I think he'll probably get quite high numbers, somewhere between 18 to 22 probably, but I don't think he's going to be the striker that will carry them to a championship. That being said, pretty much anything is better than having Wout Weghorst up top, so I think United fans will be happy with seeing him come in. I would think there would be an argument for United to finish higher than this and maybe get into the top 2, but if only they hadn't signed Mason Mount. Now, as an English Chelsea fan, I've been a supporter of Mount for a long time and have backed him for many years when he was at Chelsea. Luckily, now that he's not a Chelsea player, I can relay how much of a rip-off this deal was. We have absolutely scammed United with this sale, because Mount does not improve their midfield in the slightest. In fact, he actually makes it worse in my opinion. He's not an upgrade on Bruno or Eriksen as an attacking mid. He's not much better than Fred as a box-to-box mid either. I genuinely think that if Ten Hag wants to have a successful season, he should use Mount sparingly, because his strongest midfield trio is still Casemiro, Fred, and Bruno/Eriksen. And soon enough, I think United fans will be singing from the same hymn sheet with him, especially considering how bad his performances in pre-season have been. Finally, into the top 2. And I'm going to rip the band-aid off here. City are winning the league again. I have zero doubts in my mind. So I'm going to put these guys there and Arsenal up here. Let's quickly touch on the runners-up though. Arsenal, they have made some great signings and one not so great signing, which I'll get on to. Rice, Raya and Timber coming in are great bits of business and significantly improve them in their respective positions. On the other hand, they did the exact same thing that United did and bought one of Chelsea's worst performing players, Kai Havertz, for an insanely high price, who again just isn't an improvement on Granit Xhaka in left centre mid, isn't an improvement on Ødegaard at cam, and certainly isn't a better striker than Jesus, Nketiah or hell even Balogun. That being said, I don't think that will make much of a difference to their form. They're still going to have a fantastic season and finish high because overall their squad is just incredible and the depth they have within it is quite ludicrous. I put City ahead of them for one reason: Champions League. It has been ages since Arsenal have competed in the UCL, and I think, like Newcastle, they are going to want to go far in that tournament, and that will surely impact their league form. They aren't used to playing high-intensity UCL games in between Premier League match days, whereas their title rivals are used to it because they've been doing it for years now, and I think that's the main reason why I don't predict them to win. I think their team is definitely good in terms of like player for player, like for like. I think Arsenal's team definitely has the tools to win the league. I just do not think that with their busy schedule that they're going to be able to do it. And speaking of their title rivals, let's get this over with. Yeah, City are going to make a mockery of this league and pretty comfortably win it once again. Their squad is by far the best in the league, their manager is elite, their depth is disgustingly good, and they improved their team by bringing in Gvardiol and Kovacic. Though I don't think Kovacic is a good like-for-like replacement for Gundogan, I think he'll be able to fill in there pretty comfortably, and Pep will only make him a better player. The only other point I want to make is they have lost Riyad Mahrez, which could be seen as a downgrade, but I don't think that will slow them down at all. They'll likely just play Foden or Bernardo Silva there, and it won't change how the squad operates in the slightest. Obviously, they've got Haaland, who's probably, if Kane doesn't get the golden boot, he's just going to smoke walk that. But yeah, that was my Premier League predictions for the 2023-2024 season. Let me know your lists in the comment section down below, and if you'd be so kind, subscribe to the channel and leave the video a like if you enjoyed. Don't forget to tap the notification bell so you never miss a video from me. I've been Mono from Mono CFC, and remember, in the rain or in the dry, keep that blue flag flying high. Come on, you Blues.